Today, let me talk to you about the Upanishads, those glorious dialogues that represent the high watermark not only of Hindu philosophy but of world philosophy. We have in Hinduism a tremendous treasure of scriptural literature. Begin with the Vedas. The Vedas are hymns dedicated to various deities, to the sun, to the moon, to the wind, to the fire, to various deities, to Indra and other aspects of the divine. And they are beautiful hymns in Sanskrit. And they're divided into four main books, the Rig Veda, the Sam Veda, Atharva Veda and the Yajur Veda. These Vedas then are the origin. They're probably the oldest living, continuing scriptural literature in the world. Now, the Vedas are divided into three parts. First of all are the hymns, just these great poems. The second are Brahmanas. They talk about various technical methodologies of doing the yajna, because the way the ancient Aryans worshipped was not through temples or deities, but with the yajna, with the fire sacrifice, yajna. The third part, the end of each one of these collections are the Upanishads. And they are known as the Vedanta because they come at the end of the collections and also because they represent the high watermark of our philosophy. Now, what are the Upanishads? The Upanishads are dialogues between the rishi, the teacher, and one or more students. And very sharp questions are asked. Remember one thing, ours is a dialogic civilization. We are not a revealed civilization. The Abrahamic religions are revealed civilization. There's a text, and there's a text, it's there. But we are not like that. We are constantly developing, constantly asking questions. So the Indic religions, Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, are dialogic religions. And the Upanishads represent dialogues between the students and the teachers. And they ask questions like, for example, what is the purpose of our life on earth? Why are we here? What is the final goal of our life? What is it that makes us act? What impels our mind to alight on various objects? And these rishis, who are sages, who have really developed their spiritual powers by a great deal of meditation over the years, they then give the answers. They are fascinating, and the seekers come from all strata of society. There's a young boy, Nachiketas, in the Kathopanishad who meets the teacher who is Yamaraj himself. He goes to Yamalok and asks the Lord of Death about the secret of life and existence. Then there's the Mundaka Upanishad, where a great household Angiras goes to the Rishi and says, tell me, what is that knowledge by knowing which everything becomes known? What a glorious question. Kasminnu bhavyo vigyate sarvam idam vigyatam bhaviti. What is that knowledge by knowing which everything becomes known? Is there such a knowledge? And the teacher says, yes, there are two types of knowledges. There's the lower knowledge, the apara vidya, and all that we know, all the Vedas, all the texts, all the grammar, all the science is the lower knowledge. Atapara yadataksham vikshte. And the higher knowledge is that by which the divine is known. He's divided knowledge into two categories. And they are great sayings. For example, the one which Swami Vivekananda used to love, awake, arise, and move along the path. Uttishtata, jagrita, prapya vara nibodhata, kshurasya dhara nishita durattaya, durgam patha satkavayo vajanti. It's a difficult and dangerous path, but you have to walk across that. So the Upanishads are a constant source of inspiration. Because they are in a question and answer format, it becomes very interesting. And we must remember the basic premise upon the Upanishads are based. The all-pervasive Brahman, there is an all-pervasive divinity that pervades everything, not only this tiny speck of life that we call planet Earth, but the billions and billions of galaxies in the endless universe around us. They are all illuminated by, inhabited by the Brahman. Isha vasyamidam sarvam yatkin jagatyam jat. Whatever there is in the universe is permeated by that divine. That's one major point. Then the second is the Atman. the reflection or the, what shall we say, a spark of that divinity within each human being. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hriddeshe tishtiti. The Lord resides in the heart of all beings. Regardless of your sex, your caste, your religion, your nationality, every human being encapsulates, as it were, a spark of the divine. So you have the all-pervasive Brahman, and you have the Atman within, and then you have the process of joining these two, which is known as yoga. So the Upanishads are constantly talking about the Brahman, the glory of the Brahman, how the Brahman is everywhere. He is within, he is without, he moves without moving, he runs without running, he's everywhere. Wherever you go, he'll be there before you. So that is the basic premise of the Upanishads. And there are a large number of Upanishads. There are said to be 108 Upanishads. But there are 11 major Upanishads. The ones that, there's Isha, there's the Katha, there's the Kena, the Mundaka, the Mandukya, the Taittiriya, the Chandogya, Brihadaranyaka, the Prashna, and the Shvetashvatara. These are the major Upanishads, and they represent extraordinary dialogues. So people tend to think that the Upanishads are too difficult. They're not too difficult. They are so inspirational that they are in fact much clearer in some ways than the Gita. Gita is a better known text. Gita is not an Upanishad, by the way. It calls itself an Upanishad. It is not an Upanishad. It comes later, because the first is the Shruti, that which is heard, the Vedas and the Upanishads. And then after them comes the Smriti, that which is remembered. That includes the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, the Puranas and so on. They are in a way a secondary teaching, all based ultimately upon the teachings of the Upanishads. So it is, if we really want to understand the heart of Hinduism, we've got to go to the Upanishads and read them and understand what it is that they are saying all the time. Constantly what the Upanishad is saying is, look within. It is within you that the divine resides. You don't have to bhatko around all the time looking for something which is actually within you. And now that is a great saying, that, they are the great sayings of the Upanishad, the Mahavakya. Aham Brahmosmi, I am Brahman. Very bold to say that. Sarvam akhilam idam Brahma. All that is there is Brahman. Then he says, I am Brahma, I am Brahman. Why do I say that? Because I encapsulate a spark of the Brahman. It is because of that I am conscious. It is because of that I am aware of the Brahman. Because of that I am on the spiritual path. So the Upanishads give us this very powerful inspiration to pursue the path, and also gives us beautiful, for example, Satyameva Jayate comes from the Mundaka Upanishad. The verse is Satyameva Jayate nanritam satyena pantha vitato devayana yena kramanta rishyo hyapta kama yatra tat satasya paramam nidhanam. The truth alone prevails. That is our national motto. That comes from the Mundaka Upanishad. There's the great thing about taking as a bow the teaching of the Upanishad and putting in it the arrow sharpened by meditation. You can shoot yourself into the heart of the Brahman. Like an arrow finds itself into the heart of the target, similarly you can shoot your own Atman into the Brahman if you use the methodologies of the Upanishads. So I would say that, and I very strongly suggest, that the idea that the Upanishads are very complicated and very difficult is entirely wrong. They are beautiful texts, they are clear, uncluttered texts, and I very strongly feel that all of you who are interested in Hinduism should read. Now there are very good translations. Dr. Radhakrishnan has translated the Upanishads very well. It's a very good academic translation. But the one I think I use often is by Eknath Easwaran. He used to live in America. Eknath Easwaran, Fontana Books, they've come out with the Upanishads with introduction and notes by Professor Nagla, who's a friend of mine. And if you read those, I think you will be able to understand the whole import. There's a wonderful essay at the end of that called Reading the Upanishads, what the Upanishads are. And he ends up by saying that they are really going to be one day the philosophy of humanity, because they cut across all divisions of caste and of creed and of religion and of nationality, all the things that divide us on this planet. The Upanishads, teaching of the Upanishads are something which unite us. And once we understand and interiorize those teachings, I think the world will become a better place and we will become better human beings.